Can you hear me?
Hey,
Hey, ha, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you very well.
Awesome. Dzień dobry, dakshimasu.
Dzień dobry.
You're in where?
I'm
Wrocław?
in Poland right now, in Kielce, which is my hometown.
Kielce in
Yeah,
Poland. Ah.
yeah. It's
How is it? How are you going in Kielce?
it's all right. I mean, I'm happy I'm at my place in my home, but the situation is so intense that I cannot really fully relax into it in a way that it's so unknown. Everything is unknown. I had to cancel all the courses and stuff.
Mm.
In one way it's great, on the other way it's that unknown situation is very challenging. So otherwise, we going now into quarantine. That means that no going out, and that is, I think, challenging, because until now I was going out. I was in the parks, in the forest, and it was big resource. But being on quarantine, for me, being like at home, it is really challenging.
Mm.
Challenge not only just my physical essence, but also like my freedom, and
Mm.
that is somehow really like pushing me to the edge.
Is there a reason why they're restricting more?
Because they just don't want to make people out.
Mm.
They don't want people to gather together, because people didn't really pay attention to it, and they would go to parks, do barbecues and grills, and they would still meeting. So they try to make more. They try to force it, so they make it
Mm.
like the police can fine. And yet, like if you go to the park, you would be fined.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's the same here in Sydney. We went through the same stages. At first, it was a suggestion, and then people didn't follow, and then boom, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
there's a lot of people complaining. But I think about it, I would invite them to think, oh, so you want to do this? So if you can do that, then everybody should be able to do it. And then if everybody comes out, then I would just, you know what I mean? Some people just think, oh, I want to be able to do it. But if you can do it, then why can't other people do it? And if everybody comes out, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like some countries are more liberal, like in Sweden they
mm,
also highly advise to stay at home, but they don't force it with police and military. They just give that responsibility to people, saying, listen,
mm,
like it's in your for your health. If you don't follow that, then it's up to you if you get sick. But
mm,
they more giving people more responsibility. I like that, and I think people really respect that,
mm,
because if you start forcing people to something, then they go into rebel and they try to
mm,
do opposite.
mm,
And if you clearly explain them the reason why, then people come. I think I'm more into, you know, their own empowerment, and
mm.
I think it's much healthier.
Yeah, it's an interesting time because I remember, because I met you in Sydney with the Lomi Lomi cars, and you talked about, in the philosophy of it, it's like a web, right? You have the diagram, everything's linked, and we're
Yeah.
like that. I think this Wuhan virus is teaching us everything I do affects everyone else, and you know what I mean. We have together, we affect each other, because in the past I can just stay in my own, I could just do my own thing and not worry about anyone else. But now in, we're all affecting each other. It's more visible now, like, you know what I mean? Like, because some
Yes.
people will get sick easier with this, then the healthy people can't just do whatever. because it will affect the less healthy people. It's like we're all linked. it's I guess it's one positive thing you could think about it is it's forcing us to acknowledge that we're all linked, but at the same time, because we're so scared of dying, now we've become separated again. The countries become separated. Like the EU is suddenly, it's gone. It's just countries now, right? There's no
Yeah.
EU. There's no one EU policy.
No.
What happened to them? Are they just quiet? The whole establishment of the EU? I don't know.
You know, like the countries start closing borders because still we have EU, but every country's government has some different regulations and laws a little bit. And so they try to separate that because to protect from spreading the virus in between the countries, even though we have a common politics for EU, different countries has slight different approach, different personality. So I think this is the prevention that they're trying to make. But what is interesting about what you said about this network, this is for me coming to the, you know, to this beautiful symbol eye of Kanaloa from Hawaii, this spider web network that it really, I think this time we really teach everybody that we are all one with nature, in between each other, that we are all connected, because we tend to live before in a way that this is my life, this is my property, this is mine, and this is my health, and this is my piece of land, and in this kind of separation from each other. And now this example of separating the countries is exactly that no, we're not one, we are one with ourselves, we are all connected, and that well-being of the neighbor or well-being of the other is impacting our well-being. And metaphorically, I really like that we start looking into the world as a one. And so that the network connected energetical lines, they call Aka lines, that we all connected and we all impact each other in many ways, including our health, will have tremendous impact with the whole pandemic, I think. And I really like that idea that in a way, this will teach us looking into each other in a different way. Like when I go out now, to the, well, now parks are forbidden, but like a few days ago, even going out to the park, I noticed the people who I usually meet in that particular park, they would be like so much like focus on themselves, they would look down, they would like, even if they would run, they would be like in their own bubble. And now you pass somebody and they smile, they connect, there is sense of humility and a connection. Like people are like so craving that intimacy with each other, I think, and seeing each other. And it's so beautiful because I think this is our essence, that we acknowledge each other and see each other in our differences, because at essence, we are one. We're seeking the same thing, the same acknowledgement. We're seeking that connection, love, compassion. We want to be acknowledged, be seen, be heard. And so I think that shows us like we are one in the journey, no matter where we're coming from, no matter what country we're living, and how we were upbringing, our religion, and all this stuff is so secondary. But at essence, we're all one. And also the nature, including nature into it, that like all elements of the nature lives in our body. Like you remember in this beautiful practice, Hawaiian practice that we did in Sydney, and connecting with the 7 different elements that lives in our body. And so embracing that helps us understand, oh my God, like if those elements are within me, this is like whole universe inside of me that represents what outside. And I really love that because it helps me to appreciate the nature, take care of the nature, and have gratitude. You know, when I wake up, I put my feet on the ground, and first thing I do is like, thank you, Earth. Thank you, Earth, that I can walk on you today, and I can be in service. So this is my first thoughts every single day after waking up, to be grateful even in these difficult times.
Same here. It's so interesting when you said that your observation of people in the park. I have the same observation here in Sydney, because Sydney is known for people don't greet each other. People are, oh, if we greet them, they go, are you weird? But now everyone seems to be greeting each other. Like, I mean, we still maintain the distance. It's so weird that the whole system just adjusted. You know, like at first I could feel a lot of fear and a lot of panic. Then after a few, like nowadays, it's like everyone's a bit wary but also calm. So it's like, it's interesting to see how humans are complex systems. You adapt to what's happening, and I don't know what will happen. There's always a briefing here every morning, and they're reassessing when they are going to relax it. So we've managed to bring down the number of new cases, so they might relax it, but they're still thinking about it. Yeah, and one thing I noticed too is there's a lot of conflicting theories about this thing, and and there's also a suppression of other theories, and it's really hard to make sense. How are you making sense of this thing? You know,
Yes,
like people have their own sources, and then there's the main news, there's the government, and there's some theories that's more less mainstream. I find it difficult. So now I'm just not trying to choose anything, just trying to be open to everything. But it can be hard because it's like the cognitive load is much wider, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting how to navigate with this, because I listen to both. I go to mainstream media and listen, you know, to death cases and how the virus develops and what we have to do, you know, all the stuff with wearing masks and gloves and like main media, fear established news. And then I watch also things like David Icke, you know, kind of conspiracy theory side that also has some value, and I see the value in it, and I watch it, and then I'm like so pissed off, you know. I'm like, oh my god, if this is real, how and then like all the freedom is illusion. There's no freedom. Like we are all manipulated, and all is like set up for some, you know, few who pulling the string. So then I go in like very emotional, and then I start questioning, and then there's a part of my rebel that is like, no, I'm gonna stand up and do something, what I can do, and then I'm lost, because like, okay, so what I can do? I cannot like even like going protest. You cannot even go out because police and military here. But for me, the inner work is, I found peace in inner work. So I meditate, I look inside, how does it feel for me? Like taking all this news inside and seeing like what inside of me intuitively I resonate with. And then inside I come to conclusion, okay, this is something invisible, the thread that I don't even know anybody seek, and like how I can be in peace with myself, how I can take care of my health, how I can now implement all my 25 years of inner work to be happy, to be with gratitude, because I know how much the fear that is imposed on us right now is designed to really lower down our immune system and lower down our, you know, beings, because if we live in the state of fear, it's traumatic. And I know from my understanding of trauma that being for a long time with fear it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety, can create a lot of different illnesses in future or right now. And even the amount of people dying, the higher amount of people dying, could be due to that global, informative, fear-based trend. And so I what I how I deal with it, I meditate. I meditate every day, and I look inside what resonates with me, and I take care of my body to stay present, to still find things I'm grateful for. I practice laughter every day. Just to give my system message that that it is challenging situation, and but I have to take care of myself. And if we all start doing that, then I think we can come out of that fear. Because if I really go with in my practice, I'm not grasped by that fear. That's secondary. I can still live my full potential. I can still be creative. I can still be passionate about my work that has changed so much that I cannot really travel, I cannot really teach, I cannot really meet people, which is like core of my life. My work is so important for me. And so finding way to be creative, to still be passionate about what I'm doing. And I think this is most important right now for me to kind of not get overwhelmed by those newses. I switch off TV. Maybe I watch or read for 10 minutes to get a basic ideas what's going on, and then I try not to follow it, because it drains energy down, and I want to keep my energy high, to be in service, to be to still overflow with myself, and finding way to somehow take believing anything I hear. I try to listen to my heart in all this, and finding way what makes sense, like what's logical here.
Is there a specific way you meditate that you can share with us? Yeah.
I love to wake up and do like Vipassana meditation, just to sit with myself, to close my eyes and scan my body, and just feel for a moment, even like putting hand on my resource, which is usually my heart, and feeling my heart, what's there, what's that heart says me. And there is this beautiful practice that I do, it's called Atisha heart meditation, where you breathe in your own anxiety, your own fear, your own pains, and you breathe, you let the heart to transform that, and you breathe out through the heart love and compassion for yourself. And I do it 5 to 10 minutes, because heart has tremendous potential for transformation. Heart is constantly transforming. And so I connect that anything that would be disturbance for myself, to let my heart to really transform it. And then sometimes I do it for family or friends, or for the world, for other people who can suffer in those days, just to allow my heart to expand in this full potential in those days, just to open up to compassion and love, and peace, that we are all resonating with the same. So this is something that I really love those days. Otherwise, I love movement. So I dance, or I do myofascial unwinding, or I shake, or I do some other meditations like Osho Kundalini meditation. Movement is really nice for me, just to go into that spinal unwinding, when we open up the tissue, where we open up the energy flow. I think it's so important in those days, especially in the lockdown, when we are at home, that we're still moving the body. Body is designed to move. If we sit for a whole day day by day, throughout weeks or months, it's gonna have really bad impact on our health, because that body is stagnant, that energy doesn't flow, it's just get compressed and compressed, and then we're putting stress and fear on the top of it, and you know, it's not serving to our health. So I love to move a lot, you know, even at home, just that movement helps me to be present and to the body, and it's kind of like meditation.
Yeah, I notice. Yeah, I notice
Yeah,
that in days where I don't move as much, it's like, oh, it hurts, and
yeah,
then I feel what's wrong. But then when I move, it's like, I can still move. Thank God, no one can stop me from moving.
yeah,
So that's a freedom we could have, even though you're in a small room. I could still move my body. So.
yeah, yeah. So you know, like physiologically, what happened after 20 minutes already being in one position, sitting, for example, our body start injecting fibroblast. Fibroblast inject blasting fiber in the body, and fibroblast is kind of quite dense. Fibroblast is creating scar tissue, so the scar tissue is very, very dense. So if we're sitting for a while and we, let's say, you know, hunched, and then we catch ourselves an hour or two later, oh my God, it's just so tight here and painful. So this is that fibroblast that goes into the body, creating that hardened tissue that over time, after days or weeks or months, can create a pain, because that soft tissue start contracting, pushing on nociceptors, the pain receptors, and very often creating pain or some discomfort in the body. So it's very important to understand that that to start moving, to have that flow, that every half an hour, 20 minutes ish, we go into the movement and we allow that movement in the body.
It's just slow, unwinding movements, right? It doesn't have to be complicated, right?
Yes, so even like standing and just opening the shoulders and moving the spine, it doesn't have to be run, it doesn't have to be anything complex. Even a few minutes, just opening, you know, or stretching like a cat in the morning. You know, cat wakes up and they just stretch and just bring that
Yeah.
stretch, bring that energy from the
Yeah.
core into extremities, to move the head and the neck and the shoulders and the spine. And even that, it's already so good, and you can do it sitting or standing, but just being in that one position for a longer period of time, it just locks body in. You can imagine like our soft tissue is kind of and fascia, it's like a shirt that wraps everything, keeps everything together. And if we don't move, that shirt kind of dries up, shrinks. So imagine you put your shirt into 60 degrees or 90 degrees into the washing machine, and it just shrinks. And then it's like, you know, and you put it in, and then all body is kind of compressed. So it's similar. If we don't move, if we don't take about good nourishment, hydration, all that fascia contracts and then keeps us smaller and smaller and compress the body. So movement helps to keep it flexible, lubricated, and expanded, so we can allow that flow of energy to run through our body. So this is like really important in terms of our general health.
And also, I've seen some of your videos on trauma, and it seems that some trauma is held in the body, right? So when you move as well, it kind of releases the energy in the. Does it work like that too? Like there's some things that are stuck in the body.
Yes,
the body
definitely.
remembers the traumas and those things.
Yes, definitely. Like at every traumatic event, it's kind of registered in our body. So what happened, we might be experiencing something traumatic, usually there is a tremendous amount of fear. And when our nervous system decides involuntarily that we cannot cope with this amount of stress, it goes to parasympathetic freeze. What happened in this freeze, that feeling of usually of fear get interrupted in somewhere in the body. For everybody is different, and depending also on the thread, and that information is get interrupted in the body somewhere. We called it belts of tension. It could be around chest, it could be around belly, around pelvis, for some people around face and eyes, and that contraction is a holding pattern. So through the movement, through the breath, and through emotional awareness, we can unlock that frozen energy in the body, express it and release it kind of out, to complete the cycle that has been ignited before traumatic events, that flight or fight that is still running in our body, to have a place to get completed, released. And now that place that has been maybe, withdrawn, contracted, now it's open, free flowing. And when we change our physicality, also we changing our our emotional and our mental state, because they are interconnected, and it's so obvious. Imagine you are in the hunch position. Yeah, so you could even try, when we are in this, what is the feeling? Usually it's fear, right? Or kind of depression, fear. What do you feel?
It's like powerless, like
Yeah.
can't do anything.
Yeah, powerlessness.
Yeah.
And then consciously start slowly open up, so you can be like really straight, being connected to your body, open heart, open chest, straight spine, really good grounded on your pelvis. And now, how do you feel?
It's a combination of, like, I feel confident, but at the same time I'm thinking I'm vulnerable, because I'm exposing, you know what I mean? Like most animals, this is like hidden, they're protected, but with humans, like,
Yeah,
it's exposed. But I mean that then means that I'm confident enough that I won't be hurt if I do this. Otherwise, if I feel I'm gonna be hurt, I'm gonna cover it, right? Yeah. So it's both confidence, but also vulnerability. It's a strange combination.
yes, beautiful what you just said, because in that position, yeah, we have that sense of confidence, but there is this sense of vulnerability, of course, because look, like in nature, we're exposed. In this position, our head, our belly, our heart, our genitals, like, are exposed, and that feels vulnerable. And so very often, if we are not comfortable with this vulnerability, or we've been hurt, we've been wounded, we collapse because we are afraid to be hurt again. So it's a beautiful combination of, yes, I am in my power and I am seen, and yet I am okay to show my vulnerability, and I'm courageous enough to show that vulnerability and show my power, and be comfortable with that empowered state. So it's a very beautiful combination of power and vulnerability, when we can stand in our physical power. And already in this simple exercise, you can see how much that physicality can change our mind and can change our feelings, just by changing it. So being in the body, practicing movement, it's an important part of trauma work, and being able to witness ourselves, being with our felt sense, being present to what's happening in our body, because everything starts in our body. We're not just body, of course. We are Trinity, body, mind, and spirit. but everything starts from the body. We are here on this planet. We here to complete some higher mission, find our mission, see what we want to, what legacy we want to leave, and living in this material world is so important to embody that presence of our physicality for me, and coming back to that empowerment and vulnerability, that even though I can show my power, there's still that moment of, oh my God, I'm so vulnerable in it, or what others will say if I am in my power, the judgments of
Yeah.
others, criticism, or maybe it's better if I stay collapsed because at least I'm not visible. And now everybody see me, like what they will say. Maybe they say he's not good enough, or so everybody has different triggers from the childhood. But I find it really interesting how to shift, and I use often my body to shift my mind and to shift my feelings, because they're connected.
Mm. Yeah. Two things came up for me as you were saying this. One is we may, yeah, Poland is largely Catholic, right? We have the same myths on the fall, and it's interesting that when Adam and Eve, the story goes, when they disobeyed God, at first they were like in paradise. They were one with nature. They didn't need to work. They lived forever. Because I also read the Gnostic texts, and then the Jacob Borman, where before the fall we didn't get sick. We live forever, and then we could talk to the animals. We could talk. We're like in nature. And then after the fall, the first thing that in the story, the first thing that happened is, oh, I'm naked. Suddenly they're ashamed of the body, and then when they were driven out of paradise, they had to work. They had to have painful childbirth, and then they had kids. And what did the first two kids do? One brother killed the other. It's like this is all the start of, sometimes because we think we're modern, we're postmodern, these stories are nonsense. But if you look, if I read it more symbolically, we were just talking about that this shame in the body starts all this. It can lead to murder because you're shameful, and then, oh, why is he better than me? And then, but it's beautiful that it's rooted in that. And the other thing that came up as you were saying that, oh yeah, I lost the other thread, but maybe you respond to that first. That, what do you think of that? Linking with all these ancient stories that we've been told for forever.
Yeah, I think it's interesting topic, the shame of the body,
Yeah.
and I think that shame of the body is designed to disempower people. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hence all these beautiful magazines that we see, all these advertisements all over that are fake. Really, nobody look this way. It's all mostly photoshopped, or they prepare models in hours to in a certain position, so then we look at picture and we think like, oh my God, I want to be like this. And we are bombarded from everywhere with that, and that creates a tremendous amount of shame. But the feeling of shame is so powerful because it disempowers us. Yeah, disempower us from being ourselves, disempowers us from our own freedom, disempowers us from being ourselves, really. And I think this is convenient. This is convenient for some governments to basically have people live in shame, live in fear, and being, kind of in the crowd, one of the crowd. And I believe myself, if we free ourselves fully from shame, people start going back to their power. People start being not like a sheep, but thinking and feeling more, and deciding, and being more free and have a deeper expression of themselves in this world, being more wild also, and more connected, more, more themselves. And that's not what governments want, because they don't want people who are living their full potential, obviously, because people who living their full potential are dangerous, and we see it in example of Jesus or Buddha, or even Osho, all the enlightened masters who were at some point either condemned or killed by the society because they were living that full potential, that were threatening the masses in some ways. And so I think shame is designed to keep people small, keep people not connected to their full potential, not connected to their soul calling, and living some limited life. And so I think that is it is a very powerful feeling, the shame that cuts us off from the roots.
Yeah, yeah. Which links us back to the nature that animals just are themselves. I don't see animals being shameful. You know what I mean? They just do what they do.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember now what I wanted to say. I wanted to share a personal experience about the emotions and the body. Because in the Lomi Lomi Nui course you run in Sydney, by the third day of giving massages and being massaged, I had this upwelling of emotions like from childhood, and it just came out of me, and I like how it was held, like, oh, it's okay, it's beautiful. I remember you saying that is beautiful. So the approval, I didn't feel shame of being like a kid crying in this massage table, but somehow something just released, and I became softer after that. I became more fluid, I think, in my being. So I just wanted to share how what you said in theory I felt personally in practice. So yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The feelings is another, emotions and feelings is another piece in my understanding of health. Being emotionally fluid, being emotionally aware, and allowing emotions, which is sometimes so difficult to show in the society that where feelings are so condemned in some ways from very early childhood. And I really like to acknowledge feelings and emotions as energy, as just energy flowing, and give them space in my practice as something beautiful. I used to think of feelings before I started my spiritual journey as a good feelings and bad feelings. It's like feelings that makes you uncomfortable, maybe fear or anger or rage, that are like makes your body cringe, and you want to like, I don't want that. And then like good feelings, which is joy and happiness, and just like, okay, how I can just be there, and then there's nothing like good or bad feelings. It's just different and energy that flows, and they're just different expression of same thing that our body is wants to express. And so I like that concept, that it's beautiful. The feelings is okay. Acknowledging feelings, it's first thing, as something very normal to be expressed as a part of our sanity, as a part of our health. Because very often, what in my study, I noticed that the problem with the health starts from unexpressed or denied feelings. There's a professor, John Sarno, from California. He wrote this book, Healing Back Pain, and he diagnosed his patients, and on thousands of patients, he discovered that the main cause of their pain was emotional denial. So people even diagnosed with some skeletal problems that were sent for operations or injury, with his approach, just by working with feelings, got better almost immediately, because those
Wow. Yeah.
feelings were acknowledged, were expressed, and they they were cause of the pain in the first
Mm.
place, for years accumulated in the body. So expression of feelings is one of the most important aspect of our health. If we suppress that feelings, even now during pandemic, with the fear, allowing ourselves to feel that fear. It's not like like all this concept now with pandemic, like people start feeling that because it's so intense, but it's not like this was not existing. All these feelings were
Mm.
existing in each one of us. We were just distracting it with work, or going out, or going to the bar, to pubs, drinking, socializing. And now it escalates to the level, plus the lockdown, that we cannot distract ourselves from it. It's there in our face, and we don't know how to deal with it. We are just overwhelmed.
Mm.
But a big part of that emotional awareness is being able to embrace ourselves and observe that fear. Where is it in my body? Why it's happening? What is the sensation of fear for me right now? And bringing that awareness to and expressing it, even like to our family. Like I react this way because I'm afraid, guys, and it comes from deep fear, like, and I'm really scared. I don't know, maybe I lost my job, maybe I lost my income, and I'm scared what's going to happen. And just being able to express that, it's tremendous. It's just loosen up that grip, that we cover it up with something. And then if we keep on covering those feelings, they creates they stay in the body. They create a certain armoring or tension, and that tension over time create a pain, illness, or dis-ease. And so being able to connect and express, it's so crucial, especially now, whatever we're going through. Hence meditation is so good, because it helps us to be in the present moment, and instead of escaping from it, just being with it and embracing it as it is. And at times it might feel like it's so overwhelming, it's so painful, but it's much more healthier to embrace that pain, that hollow, that fear, whatever comes, than just escape from it, because it will
Mm.
come anyways, in some way, that we snap on somebody, or we hit somebody, or we do some stupid things that is coming from reaction, unhealthy reaction, instead of responding to situation.
Yeah, and something that came to me as you were talking about healing back pain by focusing on feelings is that I think, well, from what I'm reading, all these people with chronic pain in America or even here, maybe in Australia, they're being prescribed all these drugs, and then they become addicted to it. And in a way, I think our society has a lot of addiction, right? It's not just with these painkillers, but we're also addicted to work, addicted to most things, because we don't want to face this thing, because to exist is painful, right? Because you're separated from the womb. You have to, life has challenges, right? And not to acknowledge that, and to pretend that it needs to all be nice, and just use addiction to narrow our focus so that we don't see the bigness of life. I think it's part of the problem, right? That's why we become so fragile to many things, including a virus, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think main reason for drugs is to distract and to disconnect us from feeling of pain. Either it's physical
Mm.
pain or emotional pain. Yeah, this is the main reason why drugs were created in the first place. But what happens is that drugs are designed to disassociate us from the felt sense, meaning that we don't feel pain, but we are not feeling also pleasure. So that means we're
Mm.
completely disassociated from everything, from all range of feelings. And after a while of taking drugs, people feel numb, people feel like disconnected, like they half alive because something is missing. Like if we don't feel anything, then after a while it's like we numb, and there's no way we can be feeling fulfilled with life, no matter what we're doing, no matter how successful in whatever way success means to us we are. But if we are disconnected from that part of feeling and sensing, we are, I think, disconnecting from big part of ourselves, because I believe that that feeling is expression of our soul, because our soul is connected to the body to be able to express itself on this planet. And then if
Mm.
we connect from that, we are disconnecting from big part of our being, like in a spiritual understanding of it. And I think hence people are at times unhappy even with the drugs, because they're cut off, and that's similar with alcohol and recreational drugs. I'm not talking only about medicational drugs, because then we missing that all designed to basically disconnect us from the sensations, from the feelings. And the bottom
Mm.
lines,
And that's what we need.
we are afraid to feel that pain, or feel in general.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, which reminds me, before I forget, I need to ask you this. Before all these things happened, I just finished your course, and I was getting to massage a lot of people. I had a few paying clients, and suddenly it all stopped. And now I'm generally fine, but one thing I'm missing is the touch. I miss being physically touched by another and also touching another. Are there ways I could somehow still approximate or get the same benefit, even if I'm not doing lomi, I'm not receiving it?
Yeah.
What do you do? I suppose you're also in the same, yeah, unless you're with a partner, you could massage each other, but I'm not. So what can I do?
Yeah. It's a beautiful way to do self massage. What I do those days, I give myself self body work, and it can be such a beautiful connection with yourself to sit for half an hour or 40 minutes and go through the body. And you can start from the feet, and use your fingertips and the thumbs or knuckles, and find those places that are tense, maybe sole of the feet. Then you can go into your calf. You can go almost everywhere in the body, going on the neck and stretching, massaging the neck. You can do like forehead,
Mm,
like stretching all the tissue and fascia on the forehead, on the face. You can do like whole body. You can do your palm, and spending time with yourself, giving yourself massage, like finding those places that are painful and maybe going there and breathing into it, and then discovering like what is this pain about, like what is this tension
mm,
about, and breathing into it, and just like a self-discovery. It's like an act of self-love, and doing that
mm,
for a while like a daily practice could be a beautiful way to still have that stimulation for the skin, and like self-discovery. What do I feel when I touch myself, massage myself, and you can reach almost every day. Of course it will be difficult to
Mm.
give yourself a good back massage, right? But you can still roll on the roller or on the ball. You will not be able to like massage yourself there, but pretty much everywhere else, you can go. I will show you. You can go into your diaphragm, and you can sink in under
Mm-hmm.
the ribs, for example, and move on your fingers, opening up the diaphragm, the liver, the stomach. You can even go into the psoas muscle, into your belly, and pretty much reaching those places that needs to be touched, and discovering, especially now with a lot of feelings, where are the places of tension, and reach out with your
Mm.
hand and massage yourself, and could be a beautiful self-loving daily practice.
I will give it a go and
Yes,
let you
please do.
know.
I really recommend that. It's super nice.
Yeah, yeah. And after all this, then I know where the spots are. So I could tell someone, oh, there.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it's like self-learning. What do we feel, and how we can, give ourselves good massage.
Yeah, it's all about learning. Yeah, I think that's for now. That's all I have. Questions I have. Is there anything else you want to say that I didn't ask?
No, it's been great to be interviewed by you, Oliver. I follow you.
Yeah.
I like your poetry. I feel like you're doing great podcasts, and I watch them, and I think people are benefiting from them a lot. So I like that you bring so much creativity, and it helps others. What your interviews are great, and I have nothing more to add. I think it was really great, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for sharing all this, and I will try. And
Yes,
maybe we
please
could
do.
do a follow up later, and I'll report on my progress.
With pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dziękuję.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.